Welcome or welcome back. My name is Shannon. This is Made by Boo, and I am recording today from a little bit outside of Boise, Idaho. I am here talking about what I have been making. So today I have some knitting, a little bit of crochet. I did do a little bit of spinning, but there's nothing really to show there, so I'm not going to bring it in. Got a couple things I did work on, but I did not really make a lot of progress. So those are going to be off in their own world. I don't have any finished objects for today, but I do have 3 works in progress and 3 upcoming projects, including one that is a reboot fail project. So let's go ahead and dive in and get started with my works in progress. So my first work in progress, I had really hoped that this one was going to be done. I don't know why, but in my mind, somehow this project was going to be done today, and I was not going to be showing it as a work in progress. I was going to be wearing it. I don't know why. That was an unreasonable thought, but I actually did come decently close. So this is my sweater. So the pattern is the 2nd Avenue sweater by Brianna Lupino of the Little Wolf Knits. I am using 3 different yarns for it. So the main yarn is a combination of 2. I don't have either of them, any of them to show really. The one with all the brown and the pink is Peppermint Bark by the Little Wolf Knits, and it is held double with, you're not really going to be able to see it here, but it is a lace weight from Knit Picks. It is a alpaca cloud in the color Peppermint. It is deep stash. I've had it for 10 to 15 years, and I just held it double to give that little bit of extra softness and to give it that little bit of extra thickness, because this sweater was not actually designed for these particular yarns. And then my ribbing is fingering weight held double. It is from Three Loves in the color Old Truck. So those are all my yarn information. 2 weeks ago, I had done the front and the back, and I was right here. I had joined in the round just a little bit down. I had used my first skein of the Peppermint Bark main skein, and so I had started working on the sleeves. I was on one of the sleeves, but there it is. So I was about, halfway through the first sleeve, and somehow in my mind, I was going to completely finish this sweater. I, again, don't know why I thought that. But since then, I actually got amazingly close. So I finished the first sleeve, knit the entire second sleeve, and did the collar all in week 1 since I last filmed. And then I started working on the body. And here is where things started to fall apart a little bit. I usually do this when I'm making sweaters because I don't like cropped sweaters. Not entirely. Sometimes I deal with it, but I like my sweaters a little longer. I'm a little longer in the torso. And a lot of times, I say this as I'm wearing a shrug. A lot of times, patterns are designed for sweaters that are a little more cropped than what I like. So I tend to do my sweaters and my t-shirts this way, where I do the join under the arms, do the sleeves, and then come back to the body, because that lets me just use up the rest of my yarn in the body. And that is kind of where I am. I think I technically could have done another half a round, but I just ended at the end of the round. And it wasn't technically that much to do, but once I realized I was not going to be done in order to wear it today, have it done, ends woven in, blocked, I kind of started not wanting to work on it as much. It was if I can't finish it on time, I don't want to work on it at all. And so I was kind of making myself work on it realistically. So I would do little things like yesterday I was down here where this little pink stitch marker is, and I was home for the day. So every time I'd have a little bit of a chance to work, it was like, I will work on this for at least 30 minutes, and then if I have more time, I could switch to something else. And I did that a few times and managed to get, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 inches. And then this morning, here's where I was, and it was kind of the same thing. I was doing some just logging my yarn into a tracker, and I'd do 1 round, and then I'd log in a few skeins. 1 round, log in a few skeins until I got right up until it was about lunchtime, and that was when I hit the end of this. So now all that is left to do on this sweater is to knit the bottom ribbing, bind it off, weave in the ends, and block it. So that sounds like a lot once you put it all out there, but I mean, I was sitting here thinking maybe I'm getting bored and frustrated with my projects. Maybe I just need a reshuffle, and as big and unwieldy as this is, I will make this my travel project. So I have no choice but to work on it because it's with me. And now I don't think that makes sense anymore. I'm going to work on the ribbing a little bit today. This will probably be what I work on when I'm editing, and then I'm going to be doing a sewn bind off, which that is definitely not something I want to be doing as a travel project. And I really like weaving in the ends, all of that. I don't think it'll be a practical travel project. I don't think I'll need to do that. I think I really just needed to give myself kind of permission to not be thrilled about it, but still work on it. And I got through. It really wasn't even that much. It just felt like, oh, I'm never going to be out of this yarn. I don't know why, but I am almost done. I will definitely, based on my normal time to work on projects and when I'm going to be working on this one, this should be done in order to be blocking by next weekend. And I'm really excited about that because I do have other projects that I'm happy to get working on. But also it's like it was unreasonable to expect to get that much of a sweater. I wasn't even halfway done with the sweater when I was like, yeah, 2 weeks from now, I've only been working on it in 2 weeks. I can totally get it done. It was unreasonable. And getting this far in 2 weeks, I am proud of that, and I did it because I didn't make as much progress on some of my other projects. Little baby alpaca fiber going around for me, waving that around so much. So I have 2 other works in progress. One, I barely hit where I wanted to be on this. I think I hit where I wanted to be on this last night. So this is my Quadrophenia. I am working on it using yarn from Ruby and Rose's 2025 Advent Calendar. This is really my first Advent project of the year that I'm working on. I'm still kind of working on what I'm going to make with my other Advent calendars. I think I have 3 of them figured out. 4. Because I know what I'm doing with my Halloween Advent calendar. I'm not counting this one and that, so I guess technically 5 counting this one. And then I have 2 that are going to be shawls, 1 that's going to be a blanket, and 1 that's going to be a sweater. So I have plans, but I'm not rushing through them. Anyways, so this is the second triangle I have on the Quadrophenia using that yarn. And I'm currently just trying to get through 3 colors every 2 weeks. I wasn't sure I was going to make it this time. I was already started on one of my colors. I was a little ahead, and I still barely finished this on time. This has been my travel project where I keep it in my car during the week. I work on it when I drive down to work because that just works better for traffic. And then I usually hang out down there and I'll do an audiobook and work on my project and things like that. But I had a few days where I had to actually go into the building and start working early. I had a day that I worked from home, and so I worked on this a little bit that day, but I didn't necessarily, I had all my other projects, so I split my time. I didn't devote the same amount of time to this. So I did make my 3 colors for the 2 weeks, but barely. I know it's not actually important for me to hit 3 colors every 2 weeks, but it is one of those where if I do that, this is done in about 4 months. It just seems kind of logical to try to keep myself on pace with it so it doesn't end up lingering forever. Because 4 months is already kind of a long time, but 3 colors every 2 weeks so far has been manageable. We shall see if it continues to remain manageable. When I was getting frustrated with my sweater, I was starting to think of like a project shuffle that would have had this go to a different project zone that may have given it more or less time depending on how things go. But because that sweater, it just doesn't make sense to shuffle it to a travel project, I'm not sure that I have a need to shuffle this out of a travel project right now. So we'll probably keep working on it as is for right now and see if I can get the other triangle done before filming next time, because at that point I will now be halfway done with this blanket. And that's a good place to be. So the other, my brain just shorted out. Oh my goodness. The other work in progress I have. So this is a scrappy project, and this is another one that I started getting frustrated with. So this is the one that took the biggest hit when I put a little bit more time into my sweater. All these ends are technically woven in except for this last one. I just haven't trimmed them off. So 2 weeks ago, here is where I was. All of this got done in January-ish. I technically cast it on the day after Christmas. So I think I had like 3 or 4, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 colors, and then the rest was all in January. And then when I was like, no, I'm going to finish that, I can finish it, I put a little bit more time into the sweater. I usually do what I consider like zone knitting, where like this has a place where it sits and I work on it when I'm there. That has a place that it sits and I work on it when I'm there. And that usually works with a 3-project rotation as well. But because I was really pushing to try to get that sweater done by my self-imposed deadline, I brought it from place to place a few times and worked on it in place of this one. So I didn't make quite as much progress as I probably would have otherwise, but I did start getting a little bit frustrated, maybe disillusioned, I don't know. So this blanket is maybe a third of the length I want it to be. I, at one point, thought that maybe I was going to have all of the yarns that I needed in this basket. I don't know that you could see anything other than the fact that I have a plastic bag in there right now. And I have definitely gone through, I don't know, probably 3/4 of what was originally in here. So I'm not going to have enough of these scraps to finish this yet. And a lot of the scraps that I have, they are probably about a third of them left are purple. So it's like, okay, well, I can keep going and just make this next section very heavy on the purple, or I can somewhat back burner this project, work on it if I feel like it, but no pressure, and work on other projects that would create more scraps to go into this blanket instead of having that big purple block. I did do a little bit of purple pooling right there. Like I just happen to have a lot of purple left over right now. But I'm loving the way it's looking. It's so pretty. It's growing so quickly. But also, I think the logical thing for me to do at this point is to back burner it a little bit so that I can add other colors in between those purples. I think I will be happier if I don't just have a whole chunk that's just purple. And I think if I wait until I'm down to only purples, it's going to be even longer before it can keep going. So, sorry, I think that alpaca fluff is still everywhere. So I think I am going to keep working on it, but I'm going to put it in like one of those occasional spots where it's like a palette cleanser project for right now. And work on other projects, including the ones that I have sitting across from me right now, that may create more scraps of the correct size. And then when I get a little bit more, I might kind of like focus on it. Part of why I picked this one as a scrappy project to work on early in the year, because I had 3 scrappy projects I was really thinking of. It was this blanket, my coziest memory blanket, which I've technically been working on for 2 years, but I don't anticipate myself finishing that project this year. And then I had an idea of doing a rest vest cardigan with some of my scraps as well. And this one seemed like it was going to be quick and easy and pretty, and it'd be great to work on a blanket while it's cold, and all of that is still true. But I think in my brain, I thought I definitely had enough scraps. And once I got going, it was like, you don't have enough scraps to make this blanket. You can make a whole bunch of progress on this blanket, but you're not going to finish it with what you have in this basket. And as that has gone on, I've been just a little bit less motivated to push on it. So yeah, I think it's going to go in that back burner, pick it up occasionally if I need a palette cleanser. I'm not always working on crochet projects, and sometimes my hands hurt, and crochet projects are a good thing to kind of change the way I'm working. So yeah, I don't know if you'll see this one for a little while, but I do have some other new projects that I'm really excited about and do fit in with my goals for the year. So, I had some very limited goals for the year. I was really, when the year started, there was two things that I was just very motivated to do, and they're kind of going into goals. I don't know that they're going to be like this is what I must work on for the rest of the year or not, but one of them was to work on scrappy projects, and so I kind of had it as an idea of, at least while I get through these first few projects, I want at least one scrappy project as a main project. If I'm back burnering that blanket, that means that I need a new scrappy project to move in. And then the other thing that I was very motivated to do was to make more garments. I'm really just I want to make big projects. I want to make things that I can wear and that I can show off. And then, of course, kind of with both of those, I do not know why I can't get rid of all this fuzz. Sorry. With both of those was also the idea that I wanted to use more yarn that was from my stash than newly purchased yarn. And honestly, I was thinking I was going to do so good on that for February, because so far this month, I have gotten one skein of yarn in because I do get Yarnable. I sent one skein of yarn out in a yarn exchange, and the skein of yarn that I got in from the yarn exchange did not stay in my stash at all. It was actually claimed by my daughter very quickly because she saw it, she liked it, and she is already using it to make a blanket for her cat. So that was one I never even counted it as coming in because it came into her stash, not mine. But also, I do kind of want to make things for other people as well. So with all of those goals, I have one new project that I'm getting ready to cast on, one new project that I did do a tester for, and one failed project. So with the failed project, I don't remember if you would have seen this yet. I think I talked about it when I did a vlog recently, but I'm not 100% sure. I think I cast it on during the vlog. So this yarn is from this yarn is from Lady Pearl. I was cataloging yarn and I was starting to forget everything. So this is from Lady Pearl. It is a K-pop Demon Hunters themed yarn. Everything is a mess, but the color is Be Your Idol. It's pink, it's purple, it's sparkly, and my youngest daughter loves K-pop Demon Hunters and recently decided that she wanted some mittens. I found a simple pattern, I cast it on, I had one mitten mostly done. It was one of those where it's I had the thumb hole, I was going to need to do the thumb and then bind off at the top, and I was like, let me just have her try it on. And it was too short, and I asked her, I was like, well, is it just too short or is it also too tight? Because it did look a little bit too small. She's like, it's a little tight. So it was ugh. The pattern that I found had toddler size, child size, and then adult, small, medium, large. So at 8, I was making her child size. And what became abundantly clear is that she was going to need adult small. So I put it off for a few days and then pulled out the mitten. I'm going to need to restart the mitten, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. So that is one of my upcoming ones. It should be a quick and easy one. I was actually hoping to have those as finished objects to show this week. But, I mean, it didn't work out. I wasn't able to pull them out and get them restarted right away. And then with that weird focus on the sweater because it had to be done, even though it didn't have to be done, and it's not done. So that is one of my upcoming projects. I'm going to cast that on. My daughter was really excited about it. And honestly, here in Idaho, our winter has been weird. I love that I haven't had to drive in snow, like, pretty much at all. We've only had snow that stuck to the ground, like, once. Maybe twice. I think there was one overnight and then one in the middle of the day. And by the time I was done working, the roads were already clear. And so, like, I love that I haven't had to drive in snow, but it hasn't been very cold. And I have a feeling we're going to have a really dry, bad summer for fires out here. But it also means my daughter's asking me for mittens. We're midway through February in a winter that wasn't that cold. I'm trying to find the motivation, but I'm also like, you're not really going to wear them this year. And next year, I don't know if you'll still want that pink and purple K-pop Demon Hunters mittens. So I'm trying to push myself to make them because whether or not she'll wear them next year, she is really excited about them this year. And maybe that means she'll wear them next year. The other cast on that I'm really excited, as soon as I'm done with that sweater, I get to cast this one on. I'm going to have some crinklies, so hold on, sorry. I should have taken it out of the bag already. Okay, crinklies are over. So this is all from Stash. I'm going to be making the Color Tip Tee. I don't remember who it's by. I am double checking. And I will link the pattern down below. The Color Tip Tee by Emily Curtis. So I started thinking about this because I ordered this yarn from Ruby and Roses. It was part of her Taylor Swift collection. This was the color Reputation, and I got it on her rose gold base, so it's got little sparklies in it. In her photos, the Reputation black looked a little more like oil slick to me, where it looked like it had other colors that were just kind of blacked over. You can kind of see it here. I don't know. Maybe you can see it better in natural light, but it's very, very black and sparkly. And I ordered two, not knowing what I was going to do with it, thinking I would do either, because, you know, I was thinking the black with the colors, the oil slick kind of colors. I was figuring either a t-shirt or a shrug. It is fingering weight. So, I mean, it was that was my basic idea. And then when I was thinking about doing it as a shirt, I was even thinking about like a twisted t-shirt. I've made a couple of them. They're super comfortable. What I decided to do, though, is I started thinking, well, what if I made that twisted t-shirt, but I made the ribbing different color? And then I was like, oh, well, there's a whole shirt that does that. And I had a few mini skein sets that I thought would work for this. And the one that I'm going to go with is from Fangirl Fibers, and it is based on the musical Six, about the 6 wives of Henry VIII. So it's a 6-color mini skein set. It is based more on the playbill than on their outfits, because if you've seen it, you're looking and you're like, that's not the 6 queens colors. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is with the Color Tip Tee, you use 5 different contrast colors, typically. It's a t-shirt, pocket, and you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or no, 1. I think you do the collar, the sleeve, collar one color, sleeves another color, pocket another color, and then bottom ribbing another color. Whatever you do. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to do the pocket. I'm not sure I care about it, and I think I'd rather have the extra yarn for the length of the t-shirt. But my basic plan is to use these 4 purples for 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these will just kind of go into my other mini skeins. I will use them for something here and there. And then it will be kind of a dark but also fun t-shirt. And I like the idea of, you know, Reputation, the 6 wives of Henry VIII, a couple of which died due to their reputation. It just kind of seemed like it'd be fun. So that is one of my future cast-ons as well. All right, so my last future cast on is the one that I did do a tester square for. And that is going to be my new scrap project. So this basket of yarns is filled with fingering weight yarns, all superwash, that have somewhere between 20 and 40 grams in them. It is a variety of colors, a variety of everything. My plan, this kind of came from the idea of the project and using an advent calendar. Which advent calendar no longer matters because it's not going to be that advent calendar right now. But the project is the Jethro Cardigan by Tanis Lavalley of Tanis Fiber Arts. So it is a cardigan made with granny squares and then knitted, so crocheted granny squares, because I don't know that you can knit a granny square. But crocheted granny squares, and then you knit the ribbing and the sleeves. So it's a nice hybrid project. I've seen a few of them made. The pictures on the project itself are very beautiful, but I've seen a few people who are working on them in different colors and things like that, and they're very pretty. And I was thinking about using one of my advent calendars, and I was even thinking about making the squares solid color instead of like different color per round, partially just to simplify the project for my own self and give less ends to weave in, but also just because that seemed like that would look pretty. Like that would be fine. I've seen one where somebody was making the entire thing in one color too. So it wasn't like multicolored granny squares then with a solid around it. It was the same color granny squares as everything else. Like I have not seen a version of this sweater that I haven't liked. But I made a tester granny square using just some scrap yarn. I don't even know if I would use this in the cardigan, but it was just to kind of see if I'm using fingering weight held double, because it's a DK weight pattern, how much do I need per granny square? That way I could see, based on the number of granny squares I need, which was not 24, which would have been ideal from a advent calendar. It was not 24, so like would I be able to get a couple of granny squares out of each one? And my one granny square was 9.4 grams, so theoretically I would be able to get 2 out of enough colors. But I just kind of looked at it and I thought about it, and it's like, yeah, but then I'm going to have weird yarn chicken on some of them because it's 9.4, but what if one granny square I cut the strings just a little bit longer, things like that. It was like, I don't know that I'm going to actually like doing that. Maybe what I really want to do is something else. And I'm choosing to do that something else. I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with that advent calendar. Maybe I will end up turning it into a Jethro cardigan and do it with multicolored granny squares or any other number of things. But what I'm going to do is dig into this basket and I'm going to make a bunch of granny squares. Again, I don't know if this one's going to be part of it. I made this as a tester square. I know there's people who are passionate that you should never do a magic circle in a granny square because it can fall out. And I usually still do just because I like how tight it makes the middle. But I usually do like a double magic ring where it's got the extra in it and I weave it in a little different. And because this was a tester square, I didn't do that. And this is a sweater. I want to make sure it's nice and secure so it can be washed. But I am going to make my squares using this. Each of these I should be able to make a square out of, and then it'll either stay in this basket because it's still in that 20 to 40 range, or it will end up in that 10 to 20 range that will put it into the basket with that other blanket. So it's kind of a win-win. I have so many different colors, and there's just so many options in here. I've got sparkles, I've got not sparkles, I've got brights. Nothing in here is self-striping or anything. I don't know where I'm holding it, but it's going to be a little bit chaotic and beautiful, and I'm just going to kind of go nuts and make whatever colors I want to make. Maybe make some extras. I don't know. and just make sure that I have enough of them. And then I'm going to pick a little bit more of a neutral. I think I have some dark gray in my stash that could work to do the rest of it. But if I need to get some simple yarns to finish putting the cardigan together, that'll be okay too. But it'll be bright, it'll be chaotic, it'll be colorful, and it'll also be kind of nice because I feel like I'm not finishing anything lately. And looking at these projects, I'm going to finish my sweater, and I'm still going to be working on my Quadrophenia. I'm still going to be working on my granny stripe blanket. I'm going to start a t-shirt, which is not going to be a small project. The mittens will be a small enough project, but those aren't really necessarily a complex project right at the forefront of my mind right now. But finishing granny squares too will give me just little bite-sized bits. So that is going to be what is filling my goal for keeping a scrappy project on. It is a scrappy project that I didn't really plan for at the beginning of the year, but now I am really excited about. And theoretically, it'll use a bunch of the yarn from this basket too because of how many squares I'm going to need. Each square is going to be one color, and I'm really excited. So those are all of my upcoming projects, my current projects, and the ways that I'm working on continuing my goals for this year. So that really just leaves me moving on to life stuff. All right, so if you watched my vlog, was it last week? It would have been last week. You definitely would have seen those mittens last week. Sorry, if you watched last week, you know there hasn't been a lot of super exciting stuff out here. I have not gone out to pick up the pottery that we painted last time. My daughter was asking me about it today too. It was one of those where it should technically be ready, but this weekend was just busy enough. We weren't getting to it. Pretty much since the last time you saw me, it's just been work. So there's not really much of anything to put in the life stuff. Work is work. I work dealing with insurance, and there's been a lot of changes on things lately. So powering through on all of that and just trying to get everything done. It definitely left me with less time to knit than I wanted to, but again, I'm powering through, and clearly I'm still doing fine. I'm still working on my projects. I'm still having time to get excited about making new projects. Later today, I'm going to wind up some yarn so that they are ready to go this next week. Like, all my projects are still going really well. I have been meeting up with the Love and Stitches membership in Zooms a few times, trying to, for one, get your money's worth when you sign up for something, but also just, even if I'm sitting there silently not saying anything, it's still kind of nice to sit there and work with other people. I don't know if I'm ever going to be somebody who talks a lot in them. I spend so much of my time at work where people have questions for me or there's things that I need to do. Just sitting there silently with people who are like, if you talk, you talk. If you don't, you don't. It's weirdly soothing. And then I have been trying to, broaden my creative endeavors. I used to write a lot, and so I have been trying to do that a couple of times a week, where we'll see if I ever write anything that is interesting at all to anybody, including me, but it's still kind of that, it's nice to just let your brain do some creative stuff and work through whatever you kind of need to work through in that moment. So I've been trying to make sure I'm flexing creatively there. I will probably go and pick up our pottery next weekend. This weekend we got a little busy because we went out furniture shopping here in the U.S. It is President's Day weekend, which means sales, and we have been looking desperately for new tables and chairs and couches, and you look around everywhere, and we have been looking for years. Our table is an old IKEA one that we've had for about 10 years in 3 countries. We'd had a chair break with my father-in-law sitting in it a long time ago. Everything is falling apart, so it desperately needs to be replaced. But we didn't want to spend furniture money on something we didn't actually like. Like, furniture money is not inexpensive money. So we did finally find something. It'll be, I don't know, at least a month until we actually get it. But that was nice that we were able to do that. I did some repotting of some plants, like little things like that. And yeah, and nothing really exciting, but it's real life. Most of the time is not exciting. It's just doing your thing, surviving, getting through the day. And lately that's a big thing. Like, getting through the day, surviving, not falling apart when things get hard. Again, I'm here in the US. Some days that feels like a real big ask. So, yeah, we're just kind of getting through, trying to find those little bits of joy here and there during the day, and trying to make sure that there's still things that I'm excited about, even when there's so many more things that I feel like I can't do anything about. So that is all that I have for today. I don't want to end on a bummer note, but I have already managed to do that. So I am going to go ahead and get this video editing, get working on getting the ribbing in on my sweater, and preparing to just keep powering through another week. So until we see each other again, have a very happy making.